Chapter 22, The Graveyard. I looked around the graveyard but couldn't find you. Where's Ruku? She couldn't have gone far. Arul glanced nervously into the shadows. Cooties disappeared too. He must be with her. We have to find them. My voice came out all panicky. I had a vision of a ghost swallowing you whole. Let's split up and search. Something rustled the branches of a tree. I'm not scared, Muthu announced in a thin voice. I am not scared. We walked a few feet farther into the graveyard, and suddenly you popped out right in front of us, from where you must have curled up on top of a grave. Muthu squealed. Quiet, you fool, Arul said. It's just Ruku. I know, Muthu claimed, though his voice was all shaky. I was just pretending to be scared. For fun. You curled up in a tight ball again, and I threw my arms around you. Cootie sat nearby, his ears pricked up. You should be scared of those living men on the bridge, Muthu, Arul said. Not scared of these dead ones. He was right. The living posed a greater threat. Yet my skin still felt clammy and my throat dry. Can't believe you wanted to run back and just get our money, Arul scolded Muthu. You might have ended up in a graveyard. I did end up in a graveyard, Muthu retorted. Dead in a graveyard, Arul said. Those men couldn't squish an ant dead, Muthu said. They were too muddled up to aim their bows properly. You whimpered, and I stroked your back. For days you'd been so much surer of yourself. Now your fists were clenched tight, like they used to when Appa was angry. You were silent for what felt like forever. Then you whispered, Go back? Bridge? We have to stay here now. We had to run away from those men, like we ran away from Appa. Amma, you whispered. I miss her too, but we're together. Squeezing my hand tight, you buried your face in Cootie's fur. It's good we moved, Arul said. See what flatbeds we have here, Ruku? Nice and cool. Beds? You patted your grave, tentatively, like you were considering his words. Nice? Cool? That's right. I forced myself to sound as bright as possible. High-class hotel we're staying in, Muthu piped up. But despite the super beds, I'll climb that big banyan tree over there and sleep somewhere in the branches. Oh, up where the ghosts live, Arul said. I've heard ghosts usually hide in banyan tree branches. Or right here in the grass. Muthu stretched himself out. The grass is wet, I said. You'll catch a cold. Pick out your very own grave, Muthu. Arul spread his hands expansively. So many to choose from. The drizzle had stopped, and the moon was peeping out from behind the clouds. Come, Ruku, Arul continued. Let's show Muthu what to do. He took you by the hand and led you around, making a big show of touching each grave like he was testing them for smoothness. Muthu stopped at the grave closest to the one Arul chose. Arul peered through the darkness until he could make out the inscription on the grave marker. So, Muthu is going to sleep above Mr. Vincent's remains. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Now, your turn, Ruku. Which one do you want? You chose another one close by and lay back. I sat beside you and smoothed your brow. You shivered for a long time, whether from fear or being wet by the cold drizzle, I wasn't sure. When you finally grew still, I thought you'd fallen asleep. But then you said, Story? Story, Muthu agreed. Story, Arul echoed. Once upon a time, I said, 2 sisters and 2 brothers lived in a magical land. About time you added us, Muthu said. I could hear a smile in his voice.